Hello, everybody. Hope you guys are having a great day. Today, we are going to be talking about something that's going to be hugely controversial, and that is AI, specifically AI generate imagery, and how I utilize AI generate imagery in my design process here at Blue Cyclops as a designer, creative director, and as a small business owner. And so, what I have here is I have Midjourney. If you have not heard about it, it is an amazing AI tool that basically will generate imagery for you with simple prompts. And so, I wanted to go through and kind of like talk about how I utilize Midjourney in my everyday process, as well as how you could utilize it as a designer or as a small business owner, even. Now, first, before I even get any further, let me just say a lot of people are going to hate this video. A lot of people are going to hit that dislike button. If you do find nuggets of wisdom in this, please hit that like button. Please subscribe. Please comment. Let me know your thoughts. I honestly, I'm not going to shy from people. If you guys want to give me hate, like say some bad stuff about, all of this in comments, I completely understand. I know what's going to happen. I have constantly been attacked on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn when it comes to AI. And honestly, I've gotten a pretty thick skin about it when it comes to talking about this type of stuff. Now, I have been using AI here, specifically Midjourney, since summer of 2022. So I've been using it for a while. In fact, we're coming up on 3 years since I first started using Midjourney. I was in, I believe, the original beta. I have a paid account, so I'm paying for this. I think it's like $60 a month or something like that. And honestly, it has brought so much impact to myself and also to my clients. And so as we're scrolling through here, this is, by the way, these are things that I have liked. These are not things that I have generated myself, but I can generate them. I can, utilize them as inspiration for other generations. But what I do, the first thing that I do with Midjourney is I use it as an inspiration hub. That's one of the easiest ways that you can utilize Midjourney is using it as an inspiration hub for different things. Like just recently, we used it for mood boards and helping to create mood boards for our clients to kind of get an idea of textures, styles, colors. It's easy to add this paper texture here, these grapes, or this cool color smoke guy here, or even like this halftone feel. Like these different aspects could easily be added into a mood board or stylescape. And so that's one of the first ways that I utilize it. The other way, and this is probably going to be something that instant is going to get a lot of hate, I can feel the dislike buttons coming a mile away, is I utilize it for photography. Now, we have clients that love AI. In fact, I believe all of our clients utilize AI themselves and they don't shy away from it. And so, in many cases, they use AI both with us and internally for all of their photography. They still use stock photography for certain things, but they also use AI for that. And in the past, and let me see, I think there was some sort of good example of this somewhere up here. Actually, we'll use this as a good example. In the past, we've actually created for one of our clients. This was one of the first AI generated projects we did. Is we created a headshot library. So basically, they were generating a bunch of ad designs. And when I say generating, they were building, creating, designing a bunch of ad designs. And the number one thing they needed is they needed a diverse group of people to include in those. So what we ended up doing was we created for them a library of, I believe it was 80 to 100 AI generated people. And so these were people on solid color backgrounds. We cut them out for them. We put them into Figma. We created this big library. And so they are able to utilize those people in their ads. And this way they have this constant stream. Their content doesn't seem like it's the same again and again. They have different people. And the most important part is that they have different people, different, photographs of people than what is circulating out there. I don't know how many times as a designer I have seen the same person in so many different ads, not because it's the same model that they're using, but they're utilizing the same stock photography as other places. In fact, when I worked at a startup back in 2022, we actually had nicknames for certain people that we saw a lot in our stock photography as well out in the ethos out on the websites and ads and social content and everything. And in fact, we still message each other like, hey, did you see Stan? Stan's right here in this ad here, or hey, there's Robin over there. And so it's a pretty funny game that we had. But here we're able to create a library of people. Now I don't have any of these saved here to show you. There was a great example. Actually, this is actually a perfect example of what I'm talking about here, where you have like these people generated here and you can utilize them in those ways. Another way that we utilize this is, like I said, photography. We utilize stock photography in everything that we do. Now, though, I would say 80 to 90%, actually, we're going to say 80 to 100% of our photography that we use comes from Midjourney over stock photography sites. I can tell you this right now, I don't have budgets to hire a photographer. I'm a small business owner. I don't have the budget to hire a photographer to come in and create really cool photographs for our clients. I wish I did. I really wish I did. And I also don't have the budget to waste time looking at stock photography sites for photographs. So we utilize Midjourney for a lot of our stock photography needs. And what we do is we offer our clients two different paths. One, you can utilize the photographs that we generate, or you can use them as a sample piece, hire a photographer to come in and do the photographs for you, or have one of your internal team spend the hours looking for stock photography. But honestly, this saves us so much time by going in here and looking for generating stock photography. And so besides that, besides photography, and you'll see this perfectly in this grouping right here, another thing that we do is we utilize Midjourney for textures. So a lot of times we'll be working on some sort of brand design or some sort of graphic design that needs textures. And so you can see here, there's plenty of textures that we've saved into this library, and we utilize Midjourney in particular to generate textures or to fine textures. Like I think there was an example. Yeah, so there's like a wood pattern here, or there's these like sand, brick, I don't even know what you want to call it, stone edifices and everything. There's these different pieces here that we've saved and we've used to generate other pieces, or even this like liquid, swirling thing or water. So we're utilizing it to create like these really cool textures or backgrounds. I've also used it for content as well, having a background that's maybe water and then putting like a tweet graphic on top or something like that. So we've utilized it in different ways like that. The other way, and you can see it with this piece right here, is we utilize it for mockups. In the past, I have spent, in fact, I actually went back and looked recently. I spent over $3,000 on just mockups. I mean, I love yellow images. I still buy some mockups from time to time from them. I've bought mockups from the future, from Christo. I've bought so many mockups over the years. Now, though, with Midjourney, I can generate my own mockups and I can generate images that I can utilize as mockups. Like here, you have some sort of like restaurant piece. Let's say you're doing some sort of restaurant branding. You can take this and you can generate images based on that, and you can replace the screens. You can add in the branding to it. You have a coffee cup here. Let's say you're working on some sort of coffee brand. You can utilize this mockup to add in your design, maybe add in some extra bits here and there. Same thing with like this frame or this frame right here. There's a lot of potential when it comes to using Midjourney for mockups. Here's like a bottle and everything. And I think there's some other great examples throughout this whole place. In fact, if we actually type in mockup, you can actually see like all the different mockups that I've saved over the years in Midjourney. Some of the same ones that we just saw popped up, but some new ones as well. So a great tool for this is, or a great use case for this is creating mockups or creating the starting point. You take these images, you bring them into Photoshop, and you're able to then create mockups for yourself. Great way if you're a branding designer and you're trying to sell the idea of a logo. Creating a real custom mockup from these is one of the best ways of doing that. And then I believe I'm trying to think of there. I think there was one more use case that I use AI for, and I cannot think of it for the life of me. Oh, actually, no. Yeah, here's actually a good idea here. I've used it for reference material, and so like currently right now I'm working on a illustration for my son's second birthday. And so with this, my son loves monster trucks. He's got a bunch of monster truck toys. He watches monster trucks on YouTube. And so I wanted to create a really cool custom monster truck illustration for him. I'm going to be sharing it on social media, so you might see it if you guys follow me on Instagram, Twitter, or such. And so one of the things I did was I actually found this really cool, kind of like black and white ink drawing type graphic here of this truck. And so I ended up going through, and I'm not going to show you the examples because I would have to dig through them in the uh, organize or whatever. But I went through and I generated a perfect like orientation of the truck. In fact, I think it was like this orientation right here. And I used that as like the basis to hand illustrate the entire truck. And I did a lot of work on it, added some big wheels, suspension, added custom elements to it. It's really cool. But I was able to utilize something like this. In fact, I think these two were the starting points for this. I was able to use this as inspiration for this particular piece. And so there's a lot of things that you can use Midjourney for that is ethical, and also a lot of things you can use it for that is not ethical. Now, in the past and currently, we are using Midjourney for some illustrative work. Mostly when we use Midjourney for illustrative work, it's not spot illustrations, it's not super customized illustrations. It's more so background pieces or texture pieces. I think I saw a good example of something that we kind of utilize it for. Let me see if yeah, right here. So one of our clients, we utilize kind of like these like illustrations like this as like a background element, usually with like some sort of color overlay on top. And so those are all Midjourney generated pieces. And so we've developed over time our own style in Midjourney for these pieces, and we've generated them for, landing pages, blog post headers, things like that. And so those are things where there's no way ever that we could go in and create those in mass scale for what they need. And so Midjourney is the perfect example for that. And just so you know, just because Midjourney is the one doing all the work here when it comes to generating, it doesn't mean that's a fast process. Yes, it can definitely be fast to go through and create some of these. In fact, if I actually go to create here, you can see this is the second time I record this video. I generated these boxing gloves, some mock-ups here based on this was the original mock-up that I had saved to the library, and I went through and I generated these based on that. But sometimes the actual process can take a long time, and developing the style that we use, which is very similar to this, and developing that style for the client, it took many, many man hours. In fact, we had a project where we spent, I believe it was 40 plus hours developing their AI illustration style for all of their content. And it came down to not only figuring out the correct prompts, the correct wording, creating what I call keystone elements or keystone imagery to kind of reference, kind of like what you see here with this soda can image prompt, like developing those keystone pieces and figuring out the process to create this work. So I can go on and on about this. I've been using it for so long, but honestly, Midjourney is something that I feel like a lot of designers could easily benefit from, especially younger designers, ones who cannot afford mockups, who cannot afford stock photography. This is where you can find those elements. There is a free version, I believe, the paid version. Like I have I think the highest tier for the paid version. It's something where I highly recommend that designers utilize this. Again, ethics come into play, but sometimes like in order to thrive as a business owner, as a freelancer, you can't always hire certain people, right? There's always this argument about using ChatGPT for content or for copywriting. Not everybody can hire a copywriter. Not everybody is a copywriter. And the same thing can be said about photography. I myself am not a great photographer. I'm horrible at it. And so coming here and finding photography, this helps out so much better because I not only can, prompt Midjourney to for the exact pieces that I want, but I can also easily find the styles and see similar pieces. Like if I actually let's click into this microphone right here. If I actually click into this, I can go and see a bunch of microphones. I can see a bunch of different microphones like this. If I go back to this and let's go to this goldfish and I go and search for the goldfish, I can see a bunch of different types of goldfish to help me figure out the style or what I'm looking for. So Midjourney like gives you so much power that so many people are sleeping on. And honestly, it's something that we need to utilize. We need to use as designers. And again, I know for a fact I am going to get a lot of hate on this video because there's so many people who are against generative AI, against AI images. But honestly, this is a tool that makes designers' lives so much easier. You can't always find someone to help you on certain things. You can't always find the perfect image. Here you can generate it, or you can at least generate placeholders until you can find what you need or who you need. So that's gonna be it for that I'm gonna say on this topic. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please leave them down below. Please don't leave horrible hate comments. I know it's possibly going to be coming. I know there's going to be probably a lot of thumbs down on this video and everything, but I really appreciate everybody who took the time to watch this video thus far or even halfway through. Hopefully, you guys got some good wisdom out of it. And please, if there's any other content that you guys would like to see me produce in the near future, please do so. Always happy to help, always happy to share knowledge. So until next time, everybody, hope you remember to stay passionate, stay positive, stay creative. Catch you everybody later, and bye.